In this video, I will explain the wireframe chaining dialog box and the different options available to select the geometry using the chaining wireframe mode. Chaining is used to select a number of entities when modifying or transforming existing entities or when you create a toolpath. The entities form a chain when the distance between two consecutive entity endpoints is less than the chaining tolerance, which currently is set to 1/10 in the system configuration. The wireframe chaining dialog box allows you to operate in two modes: wireframe, which is by default, and solids. The two buttons at the top let you switch between wireframe and solids if both wireframe and solids entities are present in the geometry. The C-plane sets chaining so only entities on the same construction plane are selectable. You can use this mode when you are selecting 3D wireframe geometry to avoid to pose at every intersection with the extrusion lines. The 3D mode does not restrict chaining to entities on the same plane. There are several selection methods available, and the default one is set up to chain, which allows you to select a closed loop of entities. Partial chain allows you to select a section of a continuous profile. Window will allow you to select entities inside of a rectangular shape. Polygon will allow you to select entities for chaining using polygon lines. You have a point selection to select a point. Points are used for several purposes, including setting a contour start point or a location for the tool to move to or from contours. Area will allow you to select entities by picking a point inside of a closed area. And vector allows you to select entities that are crossing a sketched line. Single will just allow you to select a single entity. Lots of other options are available, such as select last chains, chain similar, options to unselect geometry or to display all selected arrows, how you can deal with stops at branches. You can also change the start and end points. And you also have options for chaining that provides extensive control over how chaining works. The chaining Mastercam file is open. And in this exercise, I am going to use analyze chain command to be able to see the chaining dialog box and the options that needs to be explained. I'm selecting the chain command from the Home tab. The first thing that I'm going to explain is the selection method set to chain. The chain starts with the entity that you select, and it will start from its closest endpoint. So if I select the line here, you can see how it's going to start from the endpoint of the line that I selected, and the arrow points in a clockwise direction. If you want to reverse the chaining, you do have a reverse button in the wireframe chaining dialog box. You can change the starting location using forward and using back. You can also use the dynamic option that allows you to move the starting point wherever you want along the chain. It can be somewhere in the middle of an entity. I will choose the unselect button to unselect the chain. Next, I will demonstrate the partial chaining. I will select partial button for that. Partial option creates an open chain with 2 mouse clicks. In the graphics window, you can select the entity where you want to start the chain. For example, I'm selecting this line. And then you have to select where the chain should end. I will select this line. Mastercam creates an open chain consisting of all the adjacent entities between these 2 entities that you selected. You can reverse an open chain direction too. I will unselect the chain. Window selection allows you to select entities that are inside of a rectangle. In this case, I'm just going to make a big rectangle to include the red color chains. And once you make the rectangle, you need to click on the opposite corner. The system will prompt you to sketch the approximate starting point. So I can pick a point somewhere along the selected geometry. This will ensure that the chaining will start at that point. Of course, there are 2 chains, so closest point to where we selected the first chain will be selected as the starting point on the second chain. By default, the system was chaining all the entities inside of the window. You do have option on how to control the selection. You could choose everything that it's outside of the window or inside and intersect that window, outside and intersect, or just intersecting the window. Most commonly used is inside of the window. I'm just going to again unselect the chains. And next I'm going to demonstrate the polygon option, which is similar with the window option. You will just need to create a polygon or a polygonal shape around the chain that you want to select. And to finish it, you have this end chain option. Same as with window selection, the system prompts you to select where you want to start that chain from. Again, I will unselect the selected chain. Next, we'll see how we can use the area selection. For area selection, you just need to select a point somewhere inside of a closed chain, and the chain will be automatically selected as shown. Unselect. With the area option still enabled, if I select a point somewhere in the middle, here you can see all the chains will be selected. Unselect. For point, of course, you need to have a point where you want to select the chain from. Next, I'm going to show you the single option, which, as the name tells you, will only select one entity at a time. Unselect again and unselect. And the vector option selects chains from entities that intersect a vector line. So in my case, I'm just going to make a line like this. I will choose the end chain selection. And you can see both chains are selected because the line was intersecting them. Okay, for now, I'm just going to exit from the analyzed chain. Next, I'm going to demonstrate how you can select chains with branches. I will select the levels manager, and I'm going to make visible level 3 and invisible level 1. Okay, I'm just going to click somewhere outside of the levels manager to hide it. In this case, we'll have several branches along the contour. I'm using the same command, analyze chain, and I'm going to use the chain method. I'm selecting this line close to the endpoint, and you can see how it stops at the branch. The system doesn't know which section of the contour it should follow. The green color arrow shows you where the chaining starts, and the red and blue colors shows you where it meets a branch. What we consider a branch is the position where the endpoints of 3 or more entities meet. Branch points indicates that there are different paths that the chain can take. I can click on the red arrow to indicate that I want to follow this branch, or I can click on the blue arrow. If I click on the red arrow, you will see how the chain continues. You also have options to continue by selecting previous, adjust, or next. If I want to continue with the red color arrow, I'm just selecting the next button. Here I could say adjust and then next, and you can see how it followed that branch. If I don't like what I did, I can just go previous. It's hard to tell here if the blue color arrow follows that line or this segment here. So I am just going to go with red and continue with the red button by selecting next. You can see that there is a short key that you can also use. The X letter is underlined if you hover the cursor above the button. So if I want to continue with a red color arrow, I can just enter X. And if I want to adjust, I can type in the J letter. I'm just continuing with the next, and the contour is completely selected. To finish the chaining, I can just select the end chain. I will close the wireframe chaining, and next we'll see some chaining options. To demonstrate the chaining options, specific the mask on color option, I'm going to enable in the levels chain mask level 4 and make invisible level 3. In the graphics window, I'm going to do a right mouse click and select the isometric view. You can see the geometry. It's a 3D wireframe geometry. We need to be aware of the lines that are connecting the top and the bottom chains. Those will stop the chaining as they can be considered branches. I will start the same command, analyze chain, and I'm going to select options button in the wireframe chaining. I want to select the entities by color, so I will enable color. And in the color mask, to select only the red color, I will first click on clear all and then select the color that I wanted, color red. Okay. OK again to exit the chaining options. And in the wireframe mode, I can leave 3D mode enabled because color red is just at the top chain. So once I select one entity of the chain with a color red, it will select only that entity for me. The bottom chain was yellow too, that's why it's a little bit confusing, but once you select it, you can see it's just selecting the top chain that has the color red. If I try to do the same thing with the color blue, for example, I will have to first go into the options, and in the color I will have to enable color blue only. and OK again. If I select one entity that has that color, it will pick all the entities that have the same color, disregarding the current construction plane in which we are working right now. I will unselect both chains, and instead of the 3D mode, I will enable C-plane and again reselect the blue color entity. And you can see in this case, the system disregards the branches that were having the same color and selects only the top geometry. I will again just unselect the geometry and close the wireframe chaining. This concludes the video on the wireframe chaining.